Okay. So everybody is muted. Okay.
Magdi, bonjour. I can't hear you. It may be on my end. I don't know. Just wanted to check.
Can anybody?
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Okay.
So it's maybe on my end.
Yes,
Sorry,
we can all
guys.
hear you.
No, I'm having trouble also. Thank you.
Okay. Is this better?
It's a little bit better, but it's still very weak. And I have everything on maximum here on my end.
Okay. So I'm gonna try with the earphones and hopefully it would be better. So is this any better or can you hear me better? No.
I think the other way seemed to be louder for me, but
Oh.
you know, you turned it up and it sounded good, but I don't think your other person could hear it very well.
I can hear you fine, Maggie. Just to let you know, I can hear you fine.
I can hear you fine. Well, I can hear you fine both with or without the headphones.
And it's perfect for me too. Sorry to stop you guys here. So all good.
All right. So let's keep our fingers crossed for the sound. So invite yourself, invite your mind, your body, your space to rest. To allow the universe to express itself whichever way it chooses while you are simply being. The birds singing. This beautiful spaciousness of being, of presence. The magic, the wonder, the beauty, the freshness. Which has no cause. The love that we are. So allow your experience to be just as it is. Like you are floating on the ocean or on the lake, just being supported by the water and the sunshine. Like a baby in mother's arms, so trustful beyond any effort, any activity, any thought, being carried, held, loved. What a blessing. To be not knowing, not defined in any way, not defined by thought, memory, not defined by the genetic conditions of the body mind, not defined by past events and traumas, and not defined by how the body manifests moment by moment. To be this spaciousness, effortless transparency, that does not know how to resist, doesn't have a possibility of standing in the way of anything. To be like the stream flowing, flowing downhill when there is an incline, and coming to stillness when the terrain is flat. To be available for the sun that shines onto it, and to be available to the shade that comes onto it when the cloud appears in the sky. You are the surface of the ocean, the ocean, the shore, the clouds, the sunshine. You are that which is beyond words, beyond language, beyond thought, beyond formulation. That which cannot be formulated. You are that which precedes any conceptualization, that which precedes any formulation. Although we divide the wide open sky in the northern and southern sky, the eastern and western sky, it is one sky. The causeless piece of being. But whenever you refer to yourself via thinking or feeling as somebody which exists in time and space, you are dissecting yourself, dividing yourself. limiting your totality. Narrowing your reality. And then you experience yourself as somebody who is subject to conditions, to various situations. And soon enough, you are identified with the body, with the mind. And your entire perceptual, sensorial realm is like someone in a cave looking for a way out, looking for the light. What is it that we defend, that we protect, if not a ghost? You are not that which you are protecting. You don't need to protect. In God's kingdom, there is no danger. You believe that you are on the planet Earth, that you are born. Can you imagine this magnificence, this grandeur, this majesty? Which is being trashed, by the belief that I am born and I live on planet Earth. There is no way out of the cave. Because the cave is just your dream. A falsehood. Like the baby elephant who was tied to a post with a 10-foot rope. To train the baby elephant not to wander around. Once that baby elephant is grown into a very large and powerful elephant. Who can break this rope so easily? Yet the elephant doesn't. It continues to stay within 10 feet from the post. It doesn't recognize its power and its freedom. Identified as a person, we spin around and around our particular stories, our particular problems. We spin around and around. Like the elephant who's tied in by a rope, 10-foot rope. But this spinning is just a dream spinning. Because God is not a punishing God. Has never, in fact, tied you to any post. You are free. You are the causeless freedom of being. So when the pattern arises, we can say, no. Because you have the freedom. And you make the choices that bring rejoice. To everyone. And to yourself. The sweet touch. The gentle, loving presence, which is flows infinitely as your very heart, as your very being. Allow God's hand to guide you. Trust it. Among the stream of thought that flows to you, go with the sweetness. Go with the joy, the happiness, the beauty. Allow the rest to flow. It goes where it came from. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything you would like to explore, please make sure you unmute yourself.
Magdi?
Oui, salut Shiva.
Ah,
Oui.
ok, attends. Je vais magouiller le vidéo. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, I can't see me. Well, who goes? It doesn't matter. All right, perfect. Good morning. I mean, good afternoon for most of you guys, right? I think I forgot what I wanted to ask you. That's amazing. I think there's a bunch of things floating around, which came up yesterday also in a conversation with friends about no matter what you graft on a tree, no matter what you graft upon a tree, which is already diseased, you know, like grafting, when you graft, I think you used this image in one of the most recent satsangs, and you said, no matter what you graft upon the tree, if the root itself is diseased, it's not gonna work, or something like that. You were talking about, I think if I remember this well, you were talking about the separation being the root, the whole idea of being separate, being the root and being the disease in the same time. And so no matter what you graft upon it, it will always infiltrate into whatever you have been grafted upon. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
Maybe you do, but I don't.
Tant pis. I think you used that metaphor at some point.
Anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a bit of a conundrum, and I'd like you to sort of, if you can, speak to it, because the whole thing is a dream, in the sense that the disease itself is not the reality. The reality is consciousness. So whatever let's call the disease separation, so whatever separation manifests is imagined confusion. Yes. Stop me when you feel not, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on it. So here you have the situation where you're in front of, or seemingly in front, seemingly other quote unquote people who manifest suffering and anxiety, and and you can feel they have a good heart. There's some intrinsic goodness in them, in that particular case I'm talking about, but there is a lot of wrapping of like fear and anxiety and neediness and small-mindedness and whatever you might call all these things. It doesn't really matter. The attributes are just flavors of separation, basically. And it's sort of like the interaction with a being like that seems to always tend to want to go back into suffering. And every little pretext or every little small thing can potentially be something which blows itself up into like those suffering proportions, right? So yesterday I listened to Stefan Lanka, who is this amazing scientist, and he was saying that the reason why the world is in the way we perceive it right now, knowing, you and I knowing it's a dream, but in that dream is that people are so burdened with their own suffering, their personal stories, their anxieties, their fears, etc., that they can actually not respond naturally anymore. They don't have the openness of heart, or the openness, the wisdom of the heart that you, for me, represent, to make decisions on a non-personal, clear-minded, open-hearted level. So the whole thing is now, what are our interactions in that case? And I mean, I don't want to say I'm completely out of the boat, because yes, I'm tipping back every once in a while into my little separation story, but then it's seen, and then it goes back into open kindness, making little signs. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cooking soups, and I'm offering salads, and I'm offering herbal teas, and I do little things, because I realized the talking is really not computing.
Yes.
So does it give you enough to sort of bite into?
Again, if I if I'm talking off topic, please.
There's no topic.
You know, in interacting with people, we don't interact in time. We interact in presence. Like this interaction right now, I'm having me and you. We interact in presence. So we meet each other freshly, and where the other person is, we don't know, but we discover that in the meeting, in this moment by moment meeting. We're receiving body language signals. We're receiving verbal, signals. We're even receiving sensory. We're sensing also the relationship in the moment. So, in terms of people who are burdened and they keep spinning, again, like when we meet freshly, when we're meeting in the moment, we don't know the past. We don't know the past spin. It's possible that a new spin arises, which again we recognize to be, oh, this is that pattern, that person's pattern. So in meeting freshly, at that moment, we may be available to the other person's spin in a completely different way than we were available to their spin yesterday. We don't know. So it is possible, we don't know, that somehow I am now available to this person's presentation and spin and story in a way that I wasn't available yesterday. And that's very interesting, because that means I'm not meeting them with, it's not like that when you there is paper where you write and it prints on the other paper. What do you call? There is that in the old days we used to put the blue paper, what is it called? Blue ink paper, when you print hard and it makes a copy. It's
carbon paper.
Carbon paper. Thank you. It's not a carbon paper.
Carbon paper.
It's not the carbon. I am not a carbon paper. I'm not using a carbon paper. There is no carbon paper in the relationship. Now, having said that, it is possible that, again, in this moment, as the interaction is unfolding, I find that there is really no room to proceed. There is no room to proceed. And even it could be, we don't know, it could be that even to be present is not possible. So then you leave, or you say, well, let's hell, let me go to the kitchen, make you a soup or something. You don't know what you do, but you don't need to be in any particular way. Definitely, you are not a helper. That's very important. You are not a helper. A helper, a true helper, is just responding. It's like a branch. It's not a helper. But when a bird comes to land on it, then it's even then it's not a helper, but it is in a way allowing the bird to rest, because the bird came and landed on that branch. So in that way, I am agenda-free, story-free, image-free, and even to the extent that I am also available to receive. So, oh, well, how could I receive anything from somebody who's spinning and so on? I don't know. I don't know how I could receive something from somebody who's spinning their pattern. I don't know. Maybe something will exist. Maybe nothing is. Maybe nothing will ever be received. We don't know. So there is no one way of living, but there is an understanding the understanding is that we do not exist in time. Time appears in us. Space appears in us. Situations appear in us. We don't exist in a situation. So we are not the linear, it's not a linear life.
Right.
It's not. It's moment by moment blooming in a mysterious way. And it's very helpful, if possible, to not have an image from the past about somebody.
Right.
If there is a need for caution, then there is an intelligence within the body to be cautious, because we learn, walking in this direction is slippery. It's better to walk a little bit this way because we've been there once or twice and we know this path is slippery. So there is, the caution is obviously very, very important for life, and that's there available to us because we have all the sensory and the mental capacity to pick up the signposts that are important for the caution and the preservation of the organism. So that's there. And of course, I am not talking about being open in a way that you are violating the wisdom of the caution that you have learned.
It's such a fine line because, on one level you have the carbon paper kind of thing, where you have a sort of like, let's say the same kind of like bipolar thing has happened like 3 or 4 times. And then you can call it a carbon image where you say, oh, this person has behaved this way 3 or 4 times, so I'm going to be cautious.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's a very fine line because you want to be cautious and yet open and spontaneous for another type of outcome without wanting to automatically influence it. So and I think you came right to the bull's eye of my question by saying that, because it's on one level, you don't want to crystallize it and stereotype and create an image of that person. Yet there's a caution which needs to just simply be in place to avoid all this unnecessary drama all the time, So
there's also the question of, what is the relationship about? Maybe there is no relationship. Maybe, Maybe you. No, I mean,
Yeah, we all have different types of relationships. You can own your own house, or you can rent your house. So if you rent your house, you're automatically in relationship with somebody who is not automatically your friend. I mean, that's like your landlord, you know what I mean? So, or you're dealing in business with a client. So then you have a client, it's like it's not automatically your best friend, you know what I mean? So, and you're in a relationship with these people. Yes, you can say, hey, I don't give a shit about that job, or I moved to another house, but that's not really what this is all about, right? Because it's about, I don't know, just living in these situations and and being happy, and being content and being one and sharing the love. And then yet you feel some people are having a real hard time.
Yes.
So.
When you look at the hard times in your life, there is the external situation, quotes unquote, external situation. And there is the internal situation, which is saying, well, why me? It shouldn't be like that. Etc. So there is both, you see. And so there is that play. In a hard time, it's not black and white, It's not like, oh, this is a hard time, this is a good time. It's a sort of a dynamic mix of your very self, your inner way, your inner attitude, your interaction with yourself, and the world, you see. So it's very dynamic, and we realized, you know, in our own life that that there is an openness, an open way of being that includes our inner voice, our inner and that is, it's not set in stone. It's alive. It's life. It's actually life. You know, life is dynamics like the weather. It's, we don't know, and but the key thing is to recognize, you know, that you are not in any defined thing in life, that you are life itself, that you are all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see, I mean, how life is, when a bird flies, it doesn't land on it. Well, maybe it's not true, but let me say it anyway.
I saw with the birds of the branches recently.
No, I think it's not going to land on a prickly
cactus.
Yeah, it's going to go in a different way, you know, like sometimes in the buildings, to prevent the pigeons from coming, they put little metal nails or something like that, you see.
Or nets,
yeah. So in life there is this, it's not everything goes, things go in certain ways, in certain particular ways, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was more like a philosophical question, because there's really no, it's fine. I mean, I'm amazed to see how I always naturally go back into contentment, even if the water has been like you moved in the glass, it always goes back into this sort of like nice state. It was more about, but I think that was really important to say it one more time. Not, this is not the first time I understand and hear and acknowledge that, but this letting go of being a helper, it's like so important.
Yes, it's an imposition onto yourself and others.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard because you see the suffering, and then there's sort of like, you want to hug somebody, or, you know, or do something or say something, and it's,
well, you are available, you know. I mean, the door is open, somebody knocks on the door,
yeah, but it's a different thing to do it when it happens naturally and spontaneously without any kind of concept of help or to be helped. Or if you're like, okay, I got to do something about it, it's so, you know.
Sometimes, yes, we do sense, you know, we do, out of our heart and our love, we do sense that, you know, we'd like to do something, and, you know, then we do what we can, you know. But we don't need to have an image of a helper. It's because it's just coming from our love, you know.
I mean, you know,
from our nature, our true nature.
This is a little bit also about this whole thing, because you know, the rhetoric we are sort of in these days is that we need to do certain life strange things which don't, I mean, we have to do certain things in order to prevent weaker people or older people from getting sick. You know, here in my environment, everybody and their grandmother is now vaccinating. And when you say something, which I actually very rarely do, because there's in most cases not enough clear-mindedness or open-heartedness to even listen to stuff like that. But when you say something, then the answer would be, oh, I have to do it because I'm old and I'm sick, or I have to do it because I don't want to infect my grandchildren, or I'm doing it to protect my wife, or stuff like that. So there's always these sort of like moral components in it, you know. I don't know why I'm starting talking about it, but forget it. It doesn't really matter. I think it goes into the same direction of fear and suffering and not really being able to do anything about it, because, you know, they got to do what they need to do. So, you know, it's what it is, I guess. So sometimes it's hard, it feels, to see somebody suffering and clearly not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, well, I know there's a lot of situations in the world that are difficult for various people, and
Right.
we do have we do sense that, of course.
Right. Yeah. It's all the infinite wisdom of life itself, I guess. We'll see what the outcome of all of it will be.
But the thing is, there is different realms. There is the realm of mind, of experience, of perception, and there is the reality of that. Mm-hmm. So without meaning to sort of minimize situations and people are in, there is the metaphor that's often being used that you are the dreamer of your night dream, for example. If you take that, in the night dream, there are all sorts of things happening, happy things and miserable things. And there is that dimension, that realm, the realm of perception, sensation, thoughts, memories, feelings, vibrational receptions and emission. There is that realm, grossly, you would say, the phenomenal realm. And then there is the reality of that realm, which is the noumenal realm. So we sometimes, we go into the realm of our experience, and we're looking for, a solution and the help, trying to improve that the dream. But the improvement of the dream is like the light that shines through the cave, or even from a distance. That light doesn't come from whatever we do in the cave. It doesn't come from how well we rearrange the tribe and how that light comes, from beyond. And so it's that light that guides, that restores, it's that, it's like, when you have a big herd, you have some cows that have the bell, somehow that is following the shepherd, the sound of the bell guides the herd,
Right. That's beautiful. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Shiva.
Merci.
Okay. Any questions? Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi. I think what we always can do is remind ourselves about the truth. And when we see suffering, to acknowledge that this is just a mirage or it's not real.
Yes, and also the understanding that what we refer to as suffering is related to some sort of resistance or some sort of seeking, and that it refers to the personal self. It is the understanding within oneself. Of course, we it's not about somebody else understanding. The understanding is within oneself, that suffering is this unhappiness that comes as a result of the false belief in separation, the false belief in a personal consciousness or limited consciousness. So it's not real. Yes, absolutely, it's not real, but yet it's an unhappy dream. So the way is via understanding, not simply via understanding it's not real, but via understanding what the process of unhappiness is, and of course the understanding that, and that's more for experiential understanding, that there is a reality here, and that reality is not is not something that changes in time and space. It's not the thoughts or the feeling or the sensations. It is awareness, consciousness. And that has to be a sort of a living understanding, not just sort of, yeah, I get it, but to sort of come to have the understanding of consciousness being impersonal and universal, being your experience. So, and the way it comes to be your experience is via whenever the sense of, whenever some sort of issue arises, to sort of see that this issue is arising as a result of the false belief, and to also notice that it's also a contraction which is arising within your body-mind space. And this contraction is a neutral sensation that has been personalized. That in other words it's a sensation that is impersonal, but our attention has sort of gotten addicted to it, and this entire process is a process that is arising within the spaciousness of awareness, of consciousness. And that spaciousness is infinite, which is the spaciousness of your body. Your body is the body of consciousness, is not the body of a person. So, because your reality is consciousness, and so the real body of consciousness is infinite, is borderless, is limitless, and within that infinity, within that borderlessness, a contraction has all the universal space, infinite space, to come to its true nature, which is this infinite spaciousness. So we keep reminding ourselves, let's say, that the pattern that we are engaging in is a pattern that doesn't belong to consciousness, and it's not necessary. It's a pattern that belongs to something or somebody that you're trying to protect, that you used to believe it to be yourself, and that this pattern is arising again. It's an old pattern. It's sort of a habit that's arising within your infinite beingness, and that this pattern doesn't need to be repaired, fixed, or cured. That this pattern is just an impersonal event happening in the infinite space of awareness. So therefore, you don't have the fire trucks that are running, and all the paramedics that are running to put out a fire.
I think you gave this pointer that whenever something happens, to ask yourself who benefits from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, because when the guilt arises in me, instead of trying to get rid of the guilt, I can just maybe try to see who is benefiting from this guilt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I come back to the assumed me, to the story.
Yes. The only way to benefit is if everybody benefits. So is everybody benefiting, you see? And so that's how you really benefit by everybody benefiting.
Sure. Maybe the word benefit wasn't the right one, but it was just, what is the reason why this sensation or this feeling comes up?
Yes.
So I didn't mean benefit in a positive way, just to see the interplay, just to see why it's playing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, there are sometimes just stubborn positions that arise, you know, within the body mind. There are irrational, and they're old and repetitive, and they're about just stomping my foot and saying no. You know, maybe it mattered, you know, way back when, you know, when I stomped my foot and said no, I was trying to protect something that really mattered. So there are like habits like that within ourselves, where we you know, we take a position to defend or protect, and it maintains itself. It maintains itself as we're, you know, when sort of overlooking that it's is no need to protect anything. It's all is well, you know. But the way we come to freedom from that is by not just simply understanding that there is nobody to protect and nothing to protect, but by trying, by experimenting at the moment where there is, by experimenting with different ways of being with that, you know, I don't necessarily need to, let me see, is there another way to be with this resistance, with this inner, you know, process, another way? And it's not like, is there another way so that I can feel better? No, is there another way because somehow we understand to a certain extent that there's something off about this model. There's something off about this position of stomping my foot and being stubborn, or say, there's a sense of that. And so we're experimenting with other ways of being, and that's in life. That's not theoretical. That is in interaction in life, interacting with the family, with partners at work, with in the world, you know. So, and that's what opens other channels, other ways, you know, to live. It's not like, oh, just be like a blank sheet of paper, you know. Sometimes okay, sometimes I can experiment with just be like a blank sheet of paper and see what, you know. But it's not one. It's dynamic, you know. It's alive. It's dynamic, and it's in your hands in a way to experiment with that.
So it's an art.
Yes, it's an art. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
It's so beautiful. It occurred to me that it doesn't. My happiness is not dependent on how I feel. This became so strong, clear to me that, and this is such a beautiful recognition that because feelings just come and go, and it's so amazing. So, but then what is it when I say I feel good? I feel like I am in my heart. I feel relaxed. I'm feeling at peace. Then this is not a feeling, or what is it? Is it the presence?
Yeah. So you know, when you wake up in the morning and you don't, let's say It's a day off. You don't have really to perform any important tasks. You're there. Thought arise, let me cook something, or let me write something, or I'd like to watch this particular program, whatever, and like go for a walk. Thought arises, and you're flowing, you're doing this and that, and there may be some things that may be difficult. You may decide to go for a walk, and it's an uphill walk, and it's rocky, and so the body is experiencing. Or you may decide to just sit down, listen to some music, and it's a totally different. So in terms of the experience, it can vary, but the background, the ground of the experience is not varying.
Yes, yes.
So, and you may be feeling good when you're listening to the music, and you may sometimes be feeling huffy and puffy and so on when you're climbing up to, you're climbing 600 feet, and it may seem that, oh, well, what's the difference between this feeling and that feeling? Nothing. And nothing. And yes, on some level there is a difference, but at its core, there is no difference. Where the difference arises is in the background. When in the background, say, oh my God, I hate this. Why am I having such a, oh my God, it was really great when I was listening to the music. It was really great. And here I am now climbing this freaking hill, and that's where, quotes unquote, feelings, so feelings relate more to the sense of me, the sense of me. There's some sort of identification
Yes.
within the feelings, which is quite different from feelings that are more organic or organismic or more.
But even they come and go, but they come in a harmony, like the ocean, like a wave in the ocean, which is in itself a harmony.
Yes, you could say that. There is a harmony in the harmony comes from the background.
Yes.
From the background, and the disharmony comes from the false background, the me, the me, right? Believing that resisting, not flowing, at a deep level, okay? Yeah, because we can, at the surface level, resist certain things. I don't want to, if somebody makes a steak, I don't want to eat the steak, so there may be a resistance, at the surface. But at the core, there is that openness,
But what an amazing gift. I mean, what an amazing creation, this life here, with all those different layers and
absolutely
the happiness and the joy and the celebration. And
it's amazing. I mean,
yes.
It's amazing. it's really amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Okay, Holger. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, well, if there are no questions, so thank you all. Holger, thank you. Lovely to be with you. And Shiva, John, Esther, George, Gloriana, Kelly, Desmond, hello Desmond, and Emmanuel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you. Thank you, Magdi.